Assalamualaikum and good evening to our lecturer, Dr. Aida Hazlin, and also to our fellow classmates. So today our group will be presenting on the topic of the impact of information technology on the internal audit profession. But before that, let me introduce you to my fellow groupmates. So our group consists of 5 individuals, which are first Ahmad Afiq, and secondly Amirul Izzat, myself, and then Khairunisa, Hazikah, and also Amiratun. Firstly, what is an information technology? Information technology is a study or use of systematic appliance, especially such as computers and also telecommunication. It is to store, to retrieve, and also to send information. Nowadays, auditor can store the data and also financial reporting electronically without the physical document printed out. However, we must also bear in mind that there will always be the pros and cons. Therefore, auditors should be aware and take the consideration on the impact that could cause on the internal audit. So next, we look into the audit objectives and scope of work in the information technology environment. So the audit objectives that can be recognized is to improve the internal control system. This can be done by replacing manual system to information technology system in the internal control, where it can help to handle complex transactions. Another objective is to reduce the material misstatement when integrating the information technology. Human error and miscalculations can be corrected automatically. So now we look on into the scope of work in information technology environment. So firstly is a high-speed process. The information is generated very quickly, which enable auditor to save more time for analytical review and also audit evidence collection. The next one is low clerical error. This is where error can be avoided since the computerized system can detect any errors by scanning and processing of the information. Thirdly is concentration of duties. So since in the automated computerized program can perform multitasking action at one time, hence internal auditor can concentrate on other duties as well. The fourth one is shifting the internal control base. Application system development control and system software control are designed to provide reasonable assurance that both of the system is developed in an authorized and also efficient manner. It is to establish the control over inventory, employee production, and etc. etc. The fifth one is the impact of poor system. It is where proper care has been taken to switch the manual operation to computerized system, to avoid unnecessary harm and to ensure the quality standard performance being met. The next one is exception reporting. It is a summary report which identify event outside the scope which consider the normal range where the strength of selective recognition of effective information. And the last one is man-machine interface. It will ensure that the maximum of effectiveness of the information system where information presented to the user are determined whether it is necessary to be achieved through this analysis of the job or vice versa.
My name is Khairunisa binti Ma'azir, and today I will be presenting on the issue of information technology. And the first issue is lack of knowledge in IT. Previously, all audits were done manually on paper. However, the evolution of spreadsheets, specialized accounting and audit software, and most recently data analytics software has resulted in more automation of audit operations. As a result of this technological advancement, IT abilities are gradually becoming one of the most demanded audit skills in today's market. Hence, the auditor should have sufficient IT understanding to accomplish the audit work. Understanding IT is critical for them because they are the one who are exposed to accounting transactions recorded in electronic form without supporting documentation. The auditor will be in charge of carrying out IT-related audit tasks in accordance with the organization's approved IT auditing standard. Due to that, it is critical for the organization to be extremely picky when it comes to hiring skilled internal auditors. In addition, because of the rapid spread of computer technology and the accessibility to information, skilled and well-educated IT auditors are required to guarantee that appropriate IT controls are in place to safeguard integrity of the information and to manage information access. Therefore, companies have increased depending on internal auditors to protect the company from cybersecurity breaches and to discover hazards. But nowadays, many people who want to be internal auditors lack the necessary skill set. The second issue is the emerging of technology and infrastructure changes. In a world driven by digital solutions, the emerging technology and infrastructure has affected the way an organization operates. As an example, digital technologies such as robotic process automation and advanced analytics are helping the internal audit to improve its performance. However, the rapid development of technology makes it difficult for the company to tackle. The implementation of information technology might be tough for some companies, especially a small company that does not have the ability to go along with the innovation. Thus, this makes the company may be lacking in certain areas. Besides, the complexity of the emerging technology might arise on the issue of the reliability and consistency when those software are not meeting the auditor's expectation. This issue is arising due to some auditors who are very particular with specific software needs to look beyond the built-in capabilities of the available IT products in considering crafting their audit tools. The incapability of technology in meeting the auditor's expectation will disrupt the internal audit works. As an example, the IT development such as automation and computerization has increased the risk of businesses' operations ceasing, data loss and network failure due to the impact on business monitoring and control procedures. Each organization may adopt disruptive digitalization technology at a different rate. Consequently, each internal auditor department's level of readiness to address the threats presented will be different. Next, Nurhazika will be presented on the other two issues of information technology. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nurhazika Malena and I will continue with the next issue. So, the next issue that has been discovered is that there is a high cost of implementation of information technology on the internal audit. Okay, the limitation of implementing the audit software is particularly concerned with the cost implication, failure of software to meet audit department needs, and resistance in training to auditors. Okay, from these statements, it can be seen that the implementation of IT will incur a high cost for a company due to the complexity of the system that needs to be adopted in order to cope with the rapid development of IT and system changes. Besides, IT has evolved with many complex systems and software that might cause difficulty and also confusion for the employees due to the lack of knowledge. Therefore, companies need to incur more costs in order to provide training for the employees in order to manage and handle the systems and software. According to Richard Lanza, some companies might be reluctant to provide training because they believe training time would lead to unproductivity. Therefore, in order to avoid unproductiveness, the company need to incur other costs such as outsourcing costs in order to hire expertise to run the complex systems. Hiring expertise will incur higher costs for the company since they are more knowledgeable and have the skills in managing the information technology systems. Consequently, this issue somehow might make the company to be reluctant in implementing the IT system in internal audit profession due to many costs that they might incur in the future. Okay, the last issue is lack of specific guidelines in the usage of information technology. The professionals in charge of implementing IT security and control must constantly adopt their standards, practices and techniques in order to meet the requirements of not only for manual audit work but also for countless other software that can be accommodated and improved with today's developing technologies. However, there is a lack of specific guidelines or standards available in order to ensure that the usage of IT can mitigate the audit risk. This has led to inadequacy of knowledge of the auditors in exercising their responsibility in ensuring no computer fraud occurs. On the other hand, many new IT systems are built primarily by individuals who are not IT security, control or audit specialists due to the lack of specific standards of implementation, making the number of installation will result in setting with unacceptable level of risk. Consequently, this will lead to cybersecurity since it might create opportunities for the hackers to hack the system or exploiting the security and control weakness of the internal audit works.
Now, I'll be explaining on the impact of IT towards internal auditors. So this part will be divided by 3, which consists of the summary, the main points, and the awareness. So now let us start with the summary. Among the most important variables or influences that give impact to society and affect the auditing profession is IT, which will make a change on methods and mechanisms that will change the approach. In terms of internal auditing, they are intended to assess the efficiency of an operation's internal controls by first gathering information about how a unit runs, identifying potential spots for mistakes, and defining system controls that are created in order to avoid or detect such occurrences. Auditors must use the computer as an auditing tool, audit automated system and data, identify the reasons for the systems, and understand the environment in which the systems work in order to be effective. And automated technologies enable auditors to boost both individual and audit function productivity. Now, let us move forward to the main points. The first point is that the business might lose its audit trails. The use of computers has resulted in the removal of many aspects of the visual audit trails required to keep track of control activities, beginning with the original files to one another. The second point is that the possibility of modifying data without leaving a material effect can also happen. As an example, in manual system to do accounting, it requires approval by the general daily log, whereas in the implementation of IT system can allow access to databases and make changes without leaving any physical trace. The third point is that there is a possibility of cheating and fraud since the electronic systems. It can be managed by a single person. However, in the manual data processing system, it is difficult to penetrate the system without the help of others' participations because all stages are manually recorded, documented, and carried forward through the records. And point number 4 is that it is difficult to identify computer fraud due to the huge quantity of information saved in the computer systems, as well as unforeseeable tracks of the process. This therefore makes it more difficult to find the offences. Next, point number 5 is remote access to the computers. Computer crimes have risen in recent years. For example, bypassing existing rules from others remotely in order to transfer large sums of money to other accounts. And the last point is lacking in segregation of duty. Since all data processes run entirely inside the computer, it leads to the lack of an important part of internal control, which is the separation of roles and responsibilities, as well as the use of other employees in matching and checking. Now, let us move forward to the last element, which is the awareness. The problems that auditors will encounter in the era of globalization in order to stand firm in confidence and integrity will be tested frequently. Computer fraud is simple to commit, but difficult to prevent. Year after year, the auditing profession lacks independence, integrity, and credibility in the function and obligation. It is critical for an auditor to be aware of the security risks that involve finance or the corporate systems as a whole. And last but not least, modern auditors are now a complex, trained, and apparently a well-educated person. Now I will pass the presentation floor to the next person.
Thank you, Afiq. Now, I will continue the presentation with the advantages and disadvantages of information technology towards internal audit profession. Information technology does help to improve operational efficiency and less time-consuming of the internal audit work. Information technology aids in the processing of financial and non-financial information by speeding up the proofing process, which, when compared to manual work, make it easier to spot problems and allow for immediate repair. Besides that, it also helps in the speed of retrieval of data and information stored in the memory of the computer or on memory modules and storage, and this can review some of the observations. Before this, auditors that need to audit firms which are still using paper documentation search and find the information that they need manually. This way took a longer time for the auditor to finish their audit work. However, with this information technology, they can just find the keywords that they need and the computer will automatically find it for them. Secondly, information technology helps internal auditor to reduce their audit risk. Through electronic data processing and auditing, information technology influences the reduction of audit risk. This helps auditor to reduce the likelihood of audit errors and, on the other hand, increase the possibility of detecting material errors, thereby reducing overall audit risk. This is because information technology works to close the audit forecast gap by utilizing methods, mechanisms, and techniques that increase the size of audit samples, speed of audit work, accuracy, and deliver audit results faster and easier for users. Next, we will move on to the disadvantages of information technology towards the internal audit profession. Firstly is the very obvious disadvantages is information technology exposed to data breaching and hackers. As we know, nowadays, everything is just at our fingertips. We can access every information that we need through online. Every single data and information that has been kept in the system has a high risk of data breaching by an irresponsible party. Therefore, it might disturb the internal audit work due to some evidence that has been hacked is hard to restore back, and in the end, it will affect the auditor's objectivity to come to the final opinion or judgment in their report. Second, possibility of auditors' fees to increase. As has been mentioned in the issue of internal audit, the system of information technology is very complex and requires detailed and high performance skills to use the software. Well, it cannot be denied since we know that the more advanced the technology is, the higher the cost will be. This is due to maintenance of any electricity or software problem and the cost of training and recruiting someone that is more expertise in conducting information technology who has a higher knowledge consumes a lot of cost. Consequently, to cover all of the costs incurred due to the complexity of the corporate system, the auditor's fee might need to be increased since it requires more audit work. With that, I will now hand over to my group mates Amirul to wrap up the presentation.
So now we have come into the conclusion part. So in conclusion, information technology contributes to the development of the auditing profession and also reduce some of the problem and negative aspects that accompany this profession. Next, information technology also works to reduce the expectation gap in the audit by using methods, mechanisms, and also techniques that help to increase the size of the audit samples, increase the speed of the audit work, accuracy, and also deliver the audit results faster and easier for the users to look. Hence, it will reduce the feasibility and also the performance gaps. Furthermore, information technology affects the reduction of audit risk through electronic data processing and also electronic auditing, which helps auditors to reduce the likelihood of errors in audit work and also increase the probability of discovery, which in turn leads to a reduction in an audit risk. And last but not least, information technology also contributes to the reduction of audit fees by contributing to reducing the size of the audit team, which is based on the audit work and the time consumed in the performance of the audit work, which ultimately leads to the pressure and the cost of the audit itself. So I think by that, that's all from our group. Thank you.